Hello, welcome in. Everyone, welcome in. Thanks so much for joining. As you can see, both of our speakers just put their contact information in the chat. Thank you both for doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and get started, and then yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. But yeah, thank you all for joining. This is the fourth session of our Living Safely with Lead webinar series. It's gonna be on lead and renovation, repair, and paint. As it's kind of been my first piece of the presentation might be a little bit repetitive if you've been on a call with us so far, but I see there are a couple new folks today who haven't been on one, so I'm happy to give you all the information. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and get started. And then, of course, if you don't know me, my name is Mercedes. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an environmental health organizer at Clean Water Action. I'm going to start with giving a quick overview about our agenda today. I'm going to first start with talking a little bit about Clean Water Action, our lead hazard awareness program within Clean Water, and then I'm going to do a quick brief about today's presentation, and then I'll hand it over to the speakers to go over lead and renovation, repair, and paint. And then we can talk next steps for a minute, and then the rest of the time will be for questions. So first, a little bit about Clean Water Action. We're an environmental advocacy organization that initially was started with the founding of the 1972 Clean Water Act, and we've done local, state, and federal environmental advocacy since then. And our campaigns typically just focus on, clean water, air pollution, climate change, zero waste, and environmental justice. And I would say our Philly office specifically does a lot of work around environmental justice and pretty much all things trash, so both zero waste and then ending illegal dumping. A couple ways that we do this is through legislation. So a couple of our statewide bills right now are listed below. We have one that's working on getting lead-free water in Pennsylvania schools. And this is done by replacing old, potentially lead-containing water fountains with new lead filtering hydration stations. The next is an environmental justice bill. And by the way, Grace is going to be putting in the chat the link to these pieces of legislation. If you want to read more about them or take an online action, you can do that there. But the environmental justice bill is to bring more protections for communities who face cumulative environmental burdens. And then next is going to be protecting firefighters from PFAS. We also have a bill to get PFAS out of consumer products, but I think the one in firefighting foam is moving a bit quicker through the state legislature, and so that one is our focus at the moment. In addition to legislation, we also have several community programs. First being our Resilient Communities Stormwater Initiative. This is an environmental justice initiative that takes old lots and turns them into green stormwater infrastructure and green space urban farms. Next is Rethink Disposable, a program that works directly with food service operators to help them switch from single-use plastics to reusable long-term alternatives. And the next is our lead hazard awareness program. And that program is a community outreach campaign that was started with the mission of empowering residents to identify and live safely with the existence of lead hazards in their homes and communities. We have a few different parts to this program. One, of course, being the webinar series that y'all are on. Thanks for joining. Next is we give 20-minute Living Safely with Lead presentations. And so if you're a part of like a neighborhood advocacy group, local community-based organization that meets like monthly, quarterly, and not everyone there would have time to come to, a 5-hour webinar session. We have a condensed 20-minute version that we would love to come either online or in person to present. And then next, if you're holding like a resource fair or community event, we'd love to come table to give some of our printed resources as well as speak to residents about scheduling a 20-minute Living Safely with Lead presentation. And then next, we're playing a supporting role with UPenn's Lead and Soil campaign. Grace is also going to put the link to that in the chat. If you were on our third webinar session, Adrian would have talked a little bit more about that there. And so if you missed it, I did send out the presentation and recording of that this morning. And so feel free to take a look if you want to learn more information about that. But next, I'm just going to pass it over to our speakers. First, we have Hugo Prieto, who's the main instructor for lead safety for renovation, repair, and paint and training at ECA, the Energy Coordinating Facility in Pennsylvania. And then in addition to Hugo, we have Juliette Talaferro, who is the dedicated program manager for the HUD Healthy Homes program at ECA, also in Philadelphia. And so I'm going to go and pass it over to you two to get started on the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hugo, do you want me to share or maybe I'll just share? Bear with me as
you can start. Yep.
Okay. Bear with me. I'm not as familiar with, I think this is present. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay. Is this the one that you sent me, Hugo, or is this I'm
yeah,
sorry.
This is the final one. Yep. So
okay. Okay.
We're good.
All right. Sure. All right. Oh, let me go back a little bit. I apologize. Oh, this is having a little bit of technical issues. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I'll start from this slide. Okay. All right. So this is just our contact information. We also left our emails.
Is that slide being there? I don't see it.
Oh, you don't see the slide. Oh
yes.
boy.
Huh?
Can you guys see the slide now? Okay, yep. Perfect. So this is just our contact information. If you have any questions after the presentation, or if you want to meet with us, you can always give us a call, or you can reach us in our emails. And we also left our emails in the chat as well. So today, these are just the topics that we'll be going through, just to ensure that you understand what we do when we do recognize paint in a home or lead-based paint in a home, and how we remediate it, and what the steps are in order to not spread lead dust throughout the home. So if you know anything about dust, even if you don't know a whole lot about lead, dust can travel very far. And a lot of times it is hard to sweep up and it's hard to see. So along the way, when we're dealing with anything lead oriented, we do our best to really sweep and make sure that we are not tracking lead throughout the different areas of the home. I think Dr. Howard's presentation a few weeks ago explained how easy it is to travel it even outside into the home. So we really do our best to ensure that we do not track the lead throughout the home. The next slide explains how much a little bit goes a long way. So even with 1 gram of lead, it can contaminate a whole area. So you can just step on a little corner of it, and if it gets trapped into your feet or trapped into your boots, it can distribute throughout the house, and then now you're contaminated, your home, your environment, and just the surrounding areas. So when we're looking at lead remediation or lead work in a home, we always look at homes that were built before 1978. 1978 is the year that lead-based paint was banned. Now, of course, people do have paint from that time, at least around that time, in the basement. So there might be homes that are older than 1978 that does have lead-based paint, but typically we try to look at homes that are before 1978, because that's when lead-based paints were no longer sold. Lead dust can contaminate both children, animals, and workers. The way that children get lead dust contamination is hand to mouth, typically, usually smaller children. With adults, it's just breathing in the air. The dust becomes airborne. It gets into their lungs, and now they're contaminated. And workers the same way. When you're dealing with lead contamination, some of the side effects can be very dangerous, especially to pregnant women. It can damage and hurt the baby. For adults, it could create high blood pressure, capacity, fatigue. For children, it produces learning disabilities, behaviors, and hyperactivity. So it actually hurts all ages, from fetus all the way up. So lead is dangerous to everyone. And the only way to really know if you are poisoned by lead is through a blood test. There are other tests, but the only way to know that it's in your system And the amount that's in your system is through a blood test. So you'd have to go to a physician and get that done. All right. And I'll hand it over to Hugo for the regulations.
Okay, so I am working with the EPA regulations for the RP. That RP stands for Renovation, Repair, and Painting. And this training that we are involved is for a small renovation. So we're talking about a small section of the house, not a big projects, right? So if somebody's planning to do something like that, I will recommend that break into small sections so you can create the containment and have the protection. Okay, so this is the scope of the training for EPA. If we go into the HUD, House Urban Development, because they are receiving money from the government, it's federal funding, they have more strict regulations. So we are mentioning a little bit of this, right? So next, let's see. Thank you. So the RP rule addresses activities that disturb lead-based paint in target housing and child-occupied facilities. Target housing are basically any building that was built before 1978 and most likely has some kind of lead-based paint, so at different levels. And child-occupied facility is also a building that was built before 1978, but is used for child activities like daycare or child cares, right? So they also go into other regulations to be open. Renovators that work on these activities for lead safe activities needs to be certified through training, and they had to go to an EPA accredited training provider. So once that they are trained, they can also train other people on the job. Okay, and the people on the job don't necessarily have to be training, but they are under the supervision of the person that has the certification. Okay, if you're working for a firm, the regulation said that at least one person on the job site has to have the regulation and the certification, and it has to be present at the beginning for the testing and at the end for the cleaning verification. If you are a contractor and you are getting paid for activities that involve lead-based paint, you have to get into educating the residents, okay? And for that, you have to let them know that they are at risk by sending them ahead of time something that is called the Renovate Right brochure that explains the hazards of lead-based paint. And it has a form at the end that needs to be collected after they sign. So with this, they are aware of the regulation and the hazards, but also they are aware that the person that is doing the job has to follow the regulation and the safety practices. Okay, so if you are in a location that is different than Philadelphia, you may have to look and check for the local authorities because the rules may be changed. Next, please. Okay, so the rule says that the federal standard defines lead-based paint as any paint or surface coating that contains lead equal to 1 milligram per square centimeter. So the little box on the left is 1 square centimeter, okay, compared to the 1 square inch on the right. But how often we do something like this? We most likely we are going to do 6 square feet, which is at 2 feet by 3 feet. Okay, so or bigger than that in any regular renovation, repair, and painting or RP activities. So the amount of lead that can be generated as a dust can increase really fast. Okay, and as Juliet explained before, the risk also are being increased. Okay, so minimize the dust is the #1 goal of the training. The next one. All right, so when we talk about the exclusions, homeowners working on their own house are not going to be following the RP rule. They are not enforced for homeowners doing the own do-it-yourself jobs, right? However, that is one of the main contaminations for people because they are not aware of the risk and they can cross-contaminate other relatives, right? And people around because they don't have containment. They don't even know if they have lead-based paint by doing a simple test, okay? So later, I give you the link that you can go and watch video and download a PDF document with the steps for a test that it costs maybe $10, okay? There is an EPA recognized test kit that you can do, very simple, and it gives you a visual indication of the results right away. So if you have an emergency renovation for people that are like building management or other professionals, okay, they don't have to follow the whole regulation because they had to deal with the emergency. But at the end, they had to follow the cleanup and the cleaning verification to return the area or the space that was fixed free of lead or reduce the amount of lead that was on that under the regulations. Okay, so the other concern that has to be changed in the regulation is what we call the minor repairs and maintenance activities. For EPA, something that is less than 6 square feet is not required by the rule, the RP rule. For the HUD, is less than 2 square feet. However, if it's positive for lead-based paint, the hazard is present. Okay. On the outside, for the EPS is less than 20 square feet, which is about 5 feet by 4 feet. Okay. Imagine a nice big screen TV. That will be the area. Okay. So other activities that exclude this, okay, that is always that is demolition or always there is a window, removing the window, putting a new window. It has to be regulated by RP. Okay, so window replacements, demolition, and activities that involve torching or removing paint with heat or using power tools that create a lot of dust really fast. Okay, that always has to follow the left safety practices because the risk increases when you use a torching to remove the paint. Instead of having dust as a solid particle, it becomes a vapor. So it's more difficult to contain and easy to get into the people, in the human contact, right? So those are prohibited practices. So it's coming a little later, okay? And as I said before, renovation performed by homeowners are not part of the RP regulations, but the risk is present. So training is important or knowledge by going to the epa.gov/lead. You can get a lot of information, do the training, read and figure out what to do or contact somebody that has the proper training. And next. Okay. Before start doing the renovation, repair, and painting, we had to educate the owners and residents. So it's required by law to send by mail, certified mail, ahead of time, something that is called the Renovate Right brochure that explains the 1978 ban of lead-based paint, the health risk of lead dust lead base paint, and also that the people that are going to be involved in the RRP activities have the proper training. They had to sign, and then it has to be collected before any activity start in the property. Okay, and as contractors or firms, they had to keep this record for at least 3 years. Next. Okay. So if possible, always hire a lead renovation, repair, and painting firm that is certified by EPA. Okay. Although that this rule doesn't apply to homeowners, Okay, one thing that people that has their own DIYs is to check, do the test, and figure out if the area or the paint that they are going to be disturbed has or not lead-based paint. If it's not, then you can do pretty much safety activities. But if it's lead-based paint, okay, then you have to protect yourself, the people around, create the containment, minimize dust, do the cleanup, and all of these, all left safe practices. So this training is that we do it here at EPA. It has about 8 hours of length, and we go over 11 safety skills. Starting on the next slide, okay. We go over the testing of the activities before. We do two different kind of testings. One with the EPA recognized test kit, which is in 10 minutes, and the second one is how to obtain a paint chip sample and send it to a lab so they can test for lead-based paint. Then we go over activities that are during the RP that involves minimize and control contaminated lead-based paint dust, which is the containment, and safe practices for RP. And then after, then we go over the cleaning, the disposal of waste, and the paperwork and records that need to be part of the regulations. Yep. So we are going to get with the before beginning to work. So the most important part of this before you start doing any RP activities is test the surface on the paint for lead-based paint. Okay, even if you don't think that you may be at risk, okay, you'll be surprised that some places may still have some kind of lead-based paint. One example of that could be location on the ceiling that are about 8 feet high, okay, or maybe behind the closets or other locations that are not easily accessible. So check, and then this is the best way. So the approved lead-based paint test kit that is now available is called the D-lead paint test kit. Okay, and on the link you can go to dleadpainttestkit.com, watch a video, okay, and we can share this on the chat maybe later, okay, and also download a PDF document with the steps about how to use it. Okay, so I'm showing in the next slide a little bit of that. The second test that we are doing is just collect a sample of paint and send it to a lab. So for the lead test kit, it's very simple. You collect the paint sample. Okay, you could do it different ways, but the kit provides a little metal tool, okay, that you can collect it, transfer that paint chip into a solution that is clear, and you can see that they have a little label, brown label, on the backs, on the outside of the bottle. Okay, so then you add the solution number 2. This is a chemical that when in contact with lead is going to change from clear to some kind of brown or darker color. Okay, so that's how you verify the results. This takes maybe 10 minutes to do it. Okay, and then you got the results. So on the next slide, we show the results. Okay, in the solution, the initial solution, you have a test standard. Okay, and then you compare that with the test solution that is a brown color. Sometimes you have to wait maybe about 10 minutes if you don't have an immediate change. But in the bottom left, if you got a little light yellow tint, that is not lead-based paint detected. Okay, so some kind of brown tone, it could be a low lead detected, but if it's dark or brown as the test solution, then that is the proof that the lead-based paint is present. Okay, and that for that you need to use work practices. So the second one is a paint chip sample collection. And basically you go with a utility knife or a wood chisel, take a little sample of the paint or score the drywall or the material that you are doing with, and get a sample of the paint. Okay, put in a collection tray, send it to a lab. Okay, they are available, the location on the EPA website, and then those labs are going to check that paint for lead based paint. And then based on the results, you can say if it's hazard or not. Okay. If you are a contractor, either one of these two tests, you have to have records of the locations, who is doing the testing, the results, and have those records for 3 years. Okay, so before you start any ORP, you need to isolate the work area by putting caution tape, cones, a rope, and signs around to let the people know that lead-based paint removal or renovation, repair, and painting are in progress, and there's some kind of hazards. Okay, so if possible, you can do this containment, outside containment, or perimeter, safety perimeter, in about the regulation said that at least 20 feet from the working area. Okay, but sometimes because of the infrastructure, it's difficult to do it. But as far as possible, okay, minimum 20 feet if possible, but that is the isolated work area. Okay, so we will continue with containing dust. So for this part, okay, on the outside, the regulation said that you had to cover at least 10 feet from the working area, okay, with plastic to collect any dust. And then if you are going up or down, vertical containment, any location that is in the 20 feet radius that has doors or windows has to be closed or covered. And this is on the outside. On the inside, we have any proximity of 6 feet around, which is the next slices. Okay. This one on the right side, okay, will be the location to the working area that has the window on the picture. So that room will have the interior containment that is going to create it, but because the proximity of 6 feet, that section on the side, on the right side, is open, so then has to be covered. So for this particular case, it's a vertical containment with plastic, okay, that match the outside containment. On the inside of the room, you have to cover the floor, create an enclosed containment, and the most easy material that we have available is plastic, is the heavy duty plastic, okay, the 6 millimeters, okay, that will withstand traffic and movement of tools and materials. Okay, so it's important that any air movement will be to zero or minimized. So please turn off ACs, heating, cooling systems, fans, anything that move air should be off, and also close windows and doors, and also cover with plastic any vents that are in the working area or around. Okay, so that will be for the interior containment. And then for the entry door, okay, that's the only location that you have that has 2 layers of plastic. On the next. So this is the process for creating an entry doorway that has 2 layers of plastic. The first layer, okay, is secure on all 4 sides. You can use tape, you can use staples, you have other ways to secure that. Do it. Leave enough plastic on all the sides that you have a plenty of containment material to secure that stuff of the lead dust, okay, from coming out. Then you can use duct tape and do a capital I starting on the second picture, okay, and about 6 inches from the floor, do the bottom of the capital I, and then with a utility knife, cut the middle section, okay, through the middle part of the tape to control, okay, and that is your entrance or your access and exit to the working area. The second layer, okay, that is in the last picture on the bottom right, is secured only on the top, and it hangs to the floor, and it has some kind of weight at the bottom, so a dowel or a stick or something that allows to be used as a flap to open and close and stop the movement of air from the previous plastic layer. Okay, for people doing renovation, repair and painting activities, okay, on the left side, you got the picture that are crossed with the red line. Painters coveralls are not good protections, and N95, okay, are not required. About a year ago, that was the minimum protection, but it was updated to the N100 respirators that are on the pictures on the right, on the top row, okay, and it has a better seal to create a better airtight protection for the people doing RP. Other respirators, okay, could be the half face or the full face, okay, that are even more quality of containment. And some of those are recycled. You can watch it and send it to a location, or watch it, follow the directions, and recycle it after they are clean. The proper coveralls will be the one that is for hazard dry particulated protection. It's like a plastic material, and I will recommend that you buy or get the one that has the hoodie and the booties all together in one piece. If you don't have that, then you may have to get other attachment for your hair, for your head, and for your shoes coverings. Also, disposable gloves are recommended, okay? And if you are working on this, also recommended to have a vacuum, HEPA vacuum in the working area, and also a HEPA vacuum outside to clean the people that come out of the working area and is cleaning themselves and then changing to a new set of clothes, okay? And then all those clothes, if you are going to recycle those clothes, wash them separate from the family laundry, okay? Or take those and take it to a laundromat. But if you have disposable materials or clothes, it's even better, okay? And then when you get home, the first thing that you have to do is take a shower and clean yourself really good before going back to the regular family activities.
All right, let's see what the next one. So
Yep.
this section is about during the work. So essentially, this is talking about what is prohibited when doing any type of remediation work for lead dust. So as you can see, these items, flame torches or any grinders, can actually produce more dust and actually contaminate the area. So we want to avoid all of that, especially in homes that were built before 1978. Additionally, when we are doing any type of lead remediation work, we want to ensure that we are cleaning constantly. So this process is something that we like to do on the regular basis. We always want to have a spray bottle, some type of wipes for the flooring and any area that we're actually doing the work in. And we're always constantly using the HEPA vacuum to make sure that the area is clean during the work, after the work, and before any of the work starts.
And Juliet, yes, on the right side, you can use a wet map, okay, like the Swiffer or other wet map techniques. But if you are using a bucket and a wet map, make sure that you filter the water before dispose it, because you want to collect all those solid materials.
That's right. That's right.
And you clean you clean top to bottom, and then you clean from the working area and move your way out.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, it's recommended that you plan the cleaning every 30 minutes of working, do a total cleaning. So as you create debris or waste, take it out, remove, mist the weather with the spray bottle, wet wipes, okay, vacuum all the time. So that will help you to minimize the amount of dust and the final cleaning too.
Thank you so much, Hugo. Also, piggybacking off of the conversations previous, you want to make sure that you do have a heavy duty plastic bag to put everything in and make sure it's sealed. You want to make sure you're using the HEPA vacuum frequently, cleaning tools by the end of the day. If you're taking any breaks or if you're going home, make sure you wash up thoroughly so that you're not putting any chemicals in your body or bringing any chemicals with you home. And just like Hugo was saying, throw away any personal gear that can be thrown away. And if you are trying to clean it or preserve it, there are proper protocols in order to make sure that that is done. So make sure that that is done, bagged up. And if you want to send it out for cleaning, do that. But in most situations, just throw it away so that you're not contaminating or recontaminating yourself. Like it was stated earlier, when you are in a work environment, you want to restrain from drinking, eating, or doing anything that will cause you to put anything towards your mouth or anything of removing anything from your body that will protect you. You always want to keep your hands washed, covered, and protected. And you want to make sure your clothes are washed separately from your families so that you're not actually accidentally contaminating the clothes, even the ones that are covered. With your family's clothes. All right, and now we're going to talk about cleaning activities and checking your work. So this kind of goes into everything that we were talking about earlier. Before we leave the area, again, we clean. What we really want to look for is dust-free and debris-free. We want to make sure that we are doing visual assessments. We want to make sure that we are really evaluating to make sure that when we say it's clean, it is completely clean, regardless of if an inspector's there or not, because it is easy, again, to produce dust and track dust throughout the home or in even a small or large environment. We want to make sure that you get your supplies and you have your supplies already there and prepared. You can get it from a hardware store or anywhere that they would sell them, and you want to make sure that it completely removes the lead from the environment. Once the visual inspection is passed, you do want to get a certified cleaner to come out there to do the lead wipe dust wipes. It really does secure your, having multiple eyes on the work is really important, especially when you're dealing with lead. And when you have someone that is certified to come out there, it really does give you another layer of cleaning, as well as someone else that can maybe even get into a deeper clean than you could with the supplies that you have. So these are the certified lead wipe dusts. You can buy these at a hardwood store or any like a what do you call it? I can't. My brain doesn't want to.
Yes.
Any like what is it? Not Home Depot. Gosh, I can't even say Home Depot.
Lowe's.
Yeah, Lowe's, any of those places.
Yeah. Sometimes they are difficult to find in Home Depot, Lowe's, or something like that. But on the same link that you have the information for the test, okay, if you click onto the website, you will find these products and other products like for washing your hands and other materials, okay? So because they are specialized on lead cleaning supplies, okay? So as this one here, the cleaning verification is also a chemical reaction that is on the wipes. That's why they are specific lead dust wipes. And if it's clean, they will be white, but in contact with lead-based paint dust, then it will change into a blue stain for this particular brand name. Okay, so read the information according to the brand name, and usually it's going to be a change in the color to identify the residues of lead dust, and then re-clean again and repeat this process until you get a white, clean white.
Yes. And lastly, it's just kind of puts together everything that we're talking about. The fact that you do need to have a certified person to do this work. I know a lot of times homeowners typically try to take on DIY work themselves, but it's really important that you're at least educated, and that you have someone that can take on the job and make sure that you're not spreading dust throughout the home, even if it is getting an RRP certification through taking Hugo's courses or something under that sort. It can help you understand RRP regulations and protect you and your family from getting exposed to lead dust and lead-based paint.
Yeah,
And
so
that's
so
it.
the most important part of the training or the protection will be checking the testing at the beginning to identify the hazard, right? Number two, containment. Number three, minimize the amount of dust, and then planning your cleaning during the day. And at the end, the cleaning verification with the lead dust wipes. If for any reason you fail that lead dust wipes and you got blue stains after the cleaning, this is another product that is called electrostatic wipes. They are a specific kind of wipes that are charged with static electricity that when you wipe the surface, any dust that is there will cling to that material. Okay. And that will be the third level cleaning if you fail the cleaning verification with the blue stains for this particular brand name. Okay. So that is the regulations, and the people that we train, about 125, 150 people at this center every year. Okay, they follow all these 11 safety skills. They have hands-on. They have the testing. They have the containment. So they go over the whole process. So that's why they get the train, and that's why they get the certification. After that, they have a test over the training, and they had to pass that test with 70% or above in order to get the certification. And this certification is for 5 years.
So I think that's all that we have. Does anyone have any questions for us or any feedback? Right.
Real quick before we move to questions, I'm gonna share my screen just for another minute to give next
Okay.
steps, and then the rest of the time can be used for questions.
Oh, okay.
So just the next steps. Our next webinar session is gonna be next Wednesday, same time, August 6th. It's going to be on tenants' rights and Philadelphia's lead abatement law. We're going to have Lydia Ellsworth from Community Legal Services presenting that one. And then resources to look out from me. Just like the previous sessions, I'm going to be uploading the slides and recordings to the same folder that I shared with you all this morning. And then, of course, you can always take action. So Grace already put the lead-free water bill in the chat, and she's also going to put another bill that the Lead-Free Promise Project is working to pass in the chat. That one is about requiring lead testing at ages 1 and 2. So yeah, those are pretty much the next steps. And then if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, ask in the chat, the Q&A, or here's our contact information. Both Hugo and Julia put their contact information in the chat already, and then I'll put my email there as well. Yeah, so I'm gonna stop sharing, and then I think I already saw us have some questions come in. First, Kevin sent in the Q&A. Thank you to both of you for leading the process. And Kevin asked, who do you train? Home residents, landlords, contractors, all of the above? And if a contractor wants to become lead certified, where should they go for training?
Hugo, you're on mute.
And reading here information from Kevin about the Renovate Right brochure, and yes, you're right. The information on the book and the training are from, I believe, 2013, the most updated version. Okay, so yes, slowly and painfully, the EPA website is being renovating and getting the information updated. okay, but it's taking time. So best way sometimes is to update your skills with technological companies, no, that they are at the top level of information and technical material, respirators, tools, cleaning materials, etc. So that's correct. Okay. So it's a lot of things that we can do to improve the regulations and be a little more strict on a lot of the left safety in general.
Okay, thank you. And then Amelia asked in the chat, first Amelia said, really interesting presentation. And then if someone completes an at-home paint test with no intent to renovate and it comes back positive, are there any programs that make the lead paint removal less expensive or invasive? Also, is there a difference in accuracy between the two paint chip tests? Is the lab test more accurate than that at-home test?
Okay, I can answer the last part of the question.
I'll answer the first.
Both tests, the lead paint test kit and the paint chip sample are very accurate and very effective. Okay, both of them are really good, are very accurate. So either one you can check. Usually the paint chip collection that sends to a lab is when you have federal funding, okay, or you have like insurance or real estate transactions that they want a third party involvement, okay, different than the person that will do the remediation. So that could be the situations. But either one of those two tests are very accurate. One thing that changed recently is that up to maybe a year and a half, the swabs that were available by EPA approved test kit that you had to crush the size and mix the chemicals. And the initial solution was some kind of yellow color. And then when you get in contact with lead, it turns red. And the slogan was red means lead. Those were manufactured by the 3M company, but they are no longer available. So the D-lead paint test kit is the new one that I know is the one that we use most often in our trainings. And compared to the previous one, these are better because of the disposal of the used samples is more environmental friendly. It has a material, a bag with material that you can put all the results, positive or negative, in the bag with a material that will not destroy but reduce or by chemical processes will eliminate the contamination or reduce it, and then it can be disposed. Okay, so that will be for paint removal or lead remediation. Most of the time, the people has to qualify, and sometimes it's based on the poverty level or income or other conditions. So there are programs, okay, but you have to qualify according to the program. So maybe Juliet has more information on that.
Yeah, I can speak to the programmatic part of it. So the city of Philadelphia has a program, usually is for children under the age of 6, and you have to qualify under an 80% AMI income level. That's the one that most people typically go towards. We technically can do lead abatement, but we typically stay away from it. We live in a really old city and there's a lot of needs. And since ours is not a lead program specifically, but it has a lead component, we try to look at our program from the health and safety perspective of asthma and airborne hazards, not necessarily the lead ones, because of the cost. You know, when you're doing remediation, it can cost up to $30,000 to $40,000 just to remediate a simple row home. So within our program guidelines, we don't have that level of money to put into lead. So we are very selective about which homes we would do any total lead remediation with.
Okay, thank you both. We have a couple more questions. So, and sorry if y'all already answered this one, but Kevin asked, where do you get those drop the paint chip in lead test kits? I haven't seen them at any hardware stores.
Yeah, the swabs lead paint test kits are not available in hardware stores or things like that. So if you go into the PowerPoint, when we do the testing, I link um, the the website where you can get them. Okay, so here in Philadelphia is in 24 hours that we order, we got it here, but they are all over the United States. And for Monica, and she said that um, my daughter has high levels. When the house got tested, the levels weren't high enough for the landlord to do anything about it. Apart from continue to clean with the specific tips you gave us today. Thank you. What else can I do? You may check in contact with an Ohio coalition of mothers that had kids affected by lead poisoning, and they have done a lot of things. Okay, so if you please email me, and then I can get the information and let you know. That will be a good resource to get information from parents that are dealing with situations like you have. Okay, and that they have other resources and they are helping with legislation to be changed. The other thing that you may want to do is hire a certified lead abatement or renovator, okay? And maybe make sure that the whole house is not contaminated, okay? Including the soil and water or air or dust, okay? Besides just the lead-based paint, it could be a risk too. So risk assessors can do this. I don't know the cost, but they are organization and uh, maybe through a city or government, they have services that you can get.
In addition to that, I'm putting this in the chat. Our next speaker is going to be talking a bit more about what to do if your landlord is not providing a lead safe home. And so I think for that question, I would also attend the next session. A couple more questions. In the Q&A, Emily asked, do you know what we can do if we have concerns about lead and paint and renovation somewhere other than our home, for example, a child's school or daycare?
I think, Hugo, do you have resources or do you know resources for this?
It Not really. For childcare and other organizations that deal with kids that had building before 1978, you had to have a clearance from the license and inspections, at least here in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. Okay, and they have other regulation that they had to be clear. Okay, in order to open the business for child activities. In the schools, I'm not sure about charter schools, but if they are involved with the school district of Philadelphia, they had to follow the regulations because is taxpayer money, right? So
Yeah,
for the
and
funding like that.
and I also think if you can reach out to City of Philadelphia, last time I spoke to them, I think they do have a program in which they do go into schools. I'm not sure how often they do, but that they may be a good resource just to kind of guide you into the right direction of who to reach out to if it is in the city of Philadelphia.
Okay. A couple
Yeah.
folks have been putting recommendations in the chat as well first, Kevin recommended speaking to your legislators since the current federal standards for environmental lead exposure weren't health-based. And then next, Hugo put another resource in the chat, epa.gov/lead. And then Sarah recommended if you have renter's insurance, it might be like worth looking into their policies. If possible, they can pressure the landlord to renovate or provide temporary housing.
And then also in the chat, Grace Adams had the link for prevent harms of childhood lead poisoning. So this may be something that Amelia can check too, or I will check it too. Okay, because it's so much to learn. Okay, and
Yeah.
we had to work
Mhm.
together to, pass the information and maybe prevent other people to get contaminated, and also to be aware of legislation to be changed and be better, more effective.
Exactly right.
Also, I don't know if this was mentioned before yet, but one thing that's in our Living Safely with Lead presentation is like if you maybe don't have the capacity to renovate right now, but you are concerned about the existence of lead paint in your home, we recommend that if there are like spots that are chipping, to like cover them with like strong tape or contact paper. And I think that's like a good, especially like temporary solution just to keep the lead paint from further chipping or like going into the dust.
There are other option that is called encapsulating. You can get a lead sealer material, okay, which is like some kind of paint that you go over the chip and paint that is in bad condition, and that material will dry and seal the chips or the flakes to the surface. So in that way, it's not being becoming dust as easy. And then once that is dried, you can follow the same practices to remove the whole piece out, okay, and replace it for something different that is safe, okay. But yes, so encapsulating is one of the techniques that could be done sometimes, because the risk is when we get in contact with paint that is in bad condition, right? Because it can become breaking into small pieces, or if you have paint that is in good condition, but then you remove the paint, and by removing the paint, you are creating the dust. And if that paint or the previous layers of paint has lead-based paint, they are all together. So.
Yeah. Well, we are right at time. I'm going to put my email in the chat if anyone else has any other thoughts or questions. But other than that, just thank you to both Hugo and Juliet for joining us and giving the presentation today. And yeah, I'll see y'all next week for tenants' rights and Philadelphia's lead abatement law.
All
Thanks so
right.
much.
Thank you. See you guys.
Right. See you guys.
Yeah.